Then he says, and he makes mention of a living sacrifice. Living sacrifice. That comes from the word thusia, which literally means an act of offering. Because we are sacred, consecrated to God, and now every believer is equipped with a charge. And that charge is to tell someone else and disciple someone by the hands of Jesus Christ. Therefore, we are equipped and understand and need to understand that we come to worship, to minister, and to be ministered to. Which means that our job is not only to sit every week, but it is an active dialogue between ourselves and the God we serve. That's why consecration, when Paul begins to talk about consecration and sanctification in 1 Corinthians, it was a requirement to live a godly and holy lifestyle. Verse 2 talks about the schemes of this age. He says, be not conformed to this world. The world that he was referring to was literally this age, referring to a godless system. I had an opportunity this week to sit and watch TV with my brother, and it seemed like every single station that was on, something crazy was going on. Whether it had been something that was promiscuous, whether it had been something that was killing, or something that pertains to violence, something was always going on that literally looked as if every time you would change, you got to change something else because everything seemed to be inappropriate. Now they're saying in today's culture that the average father spends 38 seconds a day with a child. By the time that child hits 18 to 21 years old, they have already seen 38,000 murders on television. And they have downloaded over 300,000 music videos online. Because we are now at the point in which we will accept the pattern of this age, whose enemy and prince of the air is the devil. Mistaken identity. Because most people today don't understand who they are, causing the notion that we practice someone else, we are now dealing with a lost generation. Because we are now allowing ourselves to popularize identity crisis. Most today mimic their environment, learning from people that they watch, see, and listen to, and pattern themselves according to a scheme. Peter writes in 1 Peter 2:9 that we are a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, which means that God has destined something in your life before the foundations of the world were even created. God has a plan for every single person who exists on earth. However, it is your choice to either choose his way or go in the opposite direction of where he's going. Then he talks about conformity. Conformity literally means a scheme. It is accommodating to a pattern. And consequently, because of the culture we live in, we are now conformed in our worship. There was an article this month from Ministry Today that talks about canned worship. That because we've allowed ourselves to get the glamour side of ministry, that now everybody sees the worship position or the worship leader as someone that is a commercial, rather than someone that exists to magnify and exalt God. That's why when we used to sing hymns of old like Lift Him Up, it was literally preparing ourselves for the reading and preparation of the gospel. But because our culture no longer cares about lifting Jesus up, we now exist just to hear a good song, feel good, and walk right outside the door. But when you understand the scheme, that they are literally designing, people are literally around designing how to make you buy things that you said you would never buy, how to make you get things that you said you'll never get. Every time they make an iPod, they already have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations down the line of how that iPod will look. Even if it comes to TVs, grandfather, engineer, and told me that 25 years ago, he had already seen what an HD TV looked like because they had planned it down the line. Therefore, they are literally planning your succession, whether you even think about your planning or not. Listen to this. 1.9 million cans of soda were purchased in 2008. 70% of Americans brought 88,163 iPods in 2008. 88,163. Purchased 1.9 million cans of soda. Over 2.9 billion cans what's that juice? I think it was Sprite or Float or something that they have. But notice now, we actually are wearing wired clothing that they make for your cell phones to go inside of it, for your iPod to go inside of it. They even have wristbands that you can throw on and just have it while you're working out and having gym. And so now we are literally in a culture that's full of noise. Neil Cole describes it as chaotic. Chaotic literally means chaos in order. Neil Cole describes it as chaotic. Chaos in order. And you find that now we find our own selves making so much noise that we expect God to make as much noise as we make. But God is desiring a moment of silence. Be still and know that I am God. Verse 2. Transform. Transform. Transform literally means a change in thought. Amen. And then he says, renew your mind. To renew literally means to make young, to change what you used to do. Amen. And that was what the kingdom message was all about. Because when you look at Matthew chapter number 3 and verse 1, you will notice that it was all about changing your mentality, changing your perspective, which allows you to begin again. What is the mind? What is the mind? If your Bible's ready, we're going to go look up some stuff. What is the mind?